Hey there, and welcome back. So something we developers like to talk about is the tools that we use. And since, well, it's the end of January, I figure I might as well share what tools I'm using for my web development. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So the first thing we need to talk about is the hardware. This is the most crucial part for really any development, programming, whatever. And so I've been using for like the past year or so a M4 Mac Mini. This has been incredible. I love the M chips in with Apple. I think they're just great. It's fast. The performance again is really, really good. And overall, I'm really happy that I upgraded from an M1 iMac to this Mac Mini. And then for screens for the Mac Mini, I have a 34-inch LG sort of curved monitor right here, and then 29-inch sort of flat LG monitor right here. I don't know the models off the top of my head. But if I'm able to find them, I'll put them down in the description below. And these are really great. I love having two screens with the way I've tried right now. My LG monitor over here is in the horizontal position. I tried it with the vertical for a couple months. Didn't quite like it. I was always kind of looking up like this. I'm playing around with it. I know developers, especially coders, really love a vertical monitor. I don't know. Something you just, if you're trying to figure out if that's right for you, you just kind of have to do it for a while just to figure it out. And then moving on, so for sort of remote away from my desk stuff, I have the 2019 Intel MacBook Pro. I'm probably gonna need to replace. And then I have an iPad Pro from 2021 that I kind of use more for writing and whatnot. Moving on to maybe the most contentious part is the IDE. And what I use is PHPStorm by JetBrains. For a while I had switched over to VS Code for a couple of good years there. But as I started with Laravel development, I sort of discovered PHPStorm has a lot of great features that can help with that. I had previously used it for a couple of years before moving to VS Code. And coming back to it, I really enjoy working with it. Just kind of feels right for me. Next up are the local development tools. Since I've been using Laravel for over a year now, I have Laravel Herd as the way I'm able to create local Laravel apps and websites. This is great. When I was using WordPress, I had either desktop server or local by Flywheel, and those were great because it allowed you to spin up a website real quick without having to really touch any technical tools. And so having that for Laravel has been great. I love it. It has a lot of good stuff in it. And if you're starting out with Laravel development, I highly recommend that you use it. And then if I want to share a local website, either with like a different machine that I'm using or with someone else, I have Expose. Again, that's something that works directly with Laravel Herd. And makes it really easy to share development websites when I need to. And then this kind of goes into PHPStorm because now it's a free plugin, but I also use Laravel IDEA. This is helpful for creating models, different classes that are specific with Laravel, those sorts of things. And since it's free in PHPStorm, if you're getting into Laravel development, you really should include that in your setup. Next up, we have AI. I've talked about this more in a blog post that I'll post a link to down in the description below, but right now I'm primarily using Claude, and especially Claude Code. I found it to be basically the best at sort of using it in my setup, from planning a feature and seeing what it's thinking, and correcting it before we get too far along to actually implementing the plan. Overall, it's just been great and has really sped up my workflow. And then for some other things, I also use Gemini. Gemini I've just kind of figured out is pretty good at like generating alt text for images and those sorts of things. Next up, we're gonna move into Git. And I know a lot of developers use GitHub. But personally, I've been using GitLab for, well, the past 6, 7, 8 years, I guess. And I really just enjoy it over GitHub. Just the way I'm able to set up groups and subgroups and control private or public repositories. And then the GitLab pipeline editor has just been a little bit easier for me to work with versus GitHub Actions. And really the biggest thing for me is the issue boards. I know GitHub has like project boards, but they're a little bit more tricky to set up, or at least the last time I tried to, they were more tricky than the issue boards in GitLab. With the issue boards in GitLab, It works sort of right out of the box. Issues are added there automatically, and just easier for me to keep track of issues there. And then moving right along, we have productivity apps. For task tracking, I use OmniFocus. I learned about this through the Cortex podcast, and I've really found it as a great way to keep track, especially of recurring items. You can set them to repeat at specified intervals, basically unlimited ways to configure that. Plus being able to set up tasks by project and folders is just a great way to keep track of everything. And then for time tracking, I'm using Timery, which is sort of a layer over top of Toggle. And then I've created a personal dashboard app as a way to keep track of those GitLab issues, as well as different marketing tasks, blog posts, videos, those sorts of things. And then moving on to some other things for packages. Obviously, I'm using the Artisan Pack UI packages that I'm building. It kind of makes sense to dog food my own stuff. Plus, really what I'm building with Artisan Pack UI is stuff that I want and need anyway. So, also I'm using Pest for testing. I'm using Tailwind CSS. Originally, I just kind of liked to write my own CSS, but I have found it to be really useful with Tailwind. Just makes things quicker and easier, and I'm not running as much CSS. Then obviously I'm using Livewire and AlpineJS for interactivity. And then finally in this sort of other category, I'm using the Affinity line of products, the photo designer and publisher for photo editing, for working on logos and whatnot, and then creating PDFs for like resources, lead magnets, those sorts of things. And then finally, for video editing, right here, I'm using Final Cut Pro. I had been using Premiere Pro for a couple years, but obviously Adobe sucks, and I finally converted back to Final Cut Pro just because it's easier. I'm not doing too many really professional type things, like needing After Effects or any of that. So really Final Cut Pro is perfect for me. So that's really my development setup. Do you have any comments or questions? If you do, be sure to leave them down in the comment section below. And to see more videos about web development, web design, be sure to hit the subscribe button and to ring the bell for notifications. But that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.